Hi, welcome to Just Common Sense. My name's Brian Harrison, and I have Jerry on the other line as well. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing awesome tonight, Brian. How you doing?
I am doing great. Very upset of everything I'm seeing in the videos out there with what's going on in Afghanistan. We need to talk about this. This is very important. And I would love to get into this a little bit and get everybody's opinion out there. And I've had different of opinion, especially from the left. They have no clue what they're talking about. And talking, guys, I'm talking with somebody who's been overseas, in the Marine Corps, everything else. I've spoken to many other soldiers today, by the way, and over the last couple days. And they're all pretty much going to say what Jerry's saying here because they're all in agreement what's going on. But some of them, because they're in uniform still, they can't speak about everything, obviously. But anyway, Jerry, you're the expert on this area more so than me. But with all I've heard today, I've listened to what's going on overseas. First of all, when it comes to Biden, he's in denial. He's messed this thing up. I'll tell you my opinion. This is the way I think things should have been done. I think we should definitely get out of there, but we should leave a force there just like we did in when you get into South Korea, when you get into Japan, because my feeling is if you have people there, first of all, the Afghan soldiers would not have taken off. That may be one thing. The Taliban would not have moved in, and we would have had a spot just in case anything happens. We would have had a military presence right there if anything happens anywhere in the world over there, and we would have had a spot to just say, let's build up military and go if we had any type of war, which we really don't want. But this cannot. What's your thoughts on that, Jerry?
No, I totally agree with you that a lot of people talk about the bases that we have around the globe from previous conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, "Oh, yeah, we've kept soldiers in different countries," and yes, but we don't own the land. We basically the places that we have bases overseas were either allies of ours
Mm-hmm.
that have allowed us to keep bases, or they were countries that we defeated, and terms of their surrender were that we would leave a base there to make sure that they didn't step out of line again. Like for example, in Japan and Germany and some of the other places, they're defeated countries that we have bases in, or they are allies that have allowed us to keep bases, and they do all of the above. One, they keep people from rising up again. And like you said, the Afghan soldiers might not have given up as easily because basically when we said, hey, we're pulling out and we've got no plan and we're just going to go ahead and leave, they felt betrayed. Why would they stay and try and fight? Because we've been telling them for 20 years we got your back, and then all of a sudden, guess what? We don't got your back.
Exactly.
And and as far as your comment about the forward operating bases, that is very important as well. And that's one of the reasons we've been able to respond to different things that have happened over the last few decades, is because we have people forward deployed, and they don't have to come out of California or Oklahoma or North Carolina. We've got somebody that's in Germany that instead of a 12 or 15 or 16-hour plane flight, they're a 4-hour plane flight or a 2-hour plane flight away. So, that's very important to have the forward deployed bases right now. So everything that you just mentioned, our loyalty to the Afghans, the forward deployed bases, those are both very important.
And
And we just lost both.
we did, and we lost confidence all over the world right now. We did, and I I am actually, I'll be honest. I've heard papers are going to be drawn up for impeachment. We'll see how true that is. I definitely call for the impeachment of this guy. He is the worst president ever in history. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I know he doesn't know what he's doing. And somebody else may be running the show, as we've all talked about. And sure, I believe somebody is. And they're actually a failure of doing this. And let's talk about another thing. What do you think is going to happen? We left so much military weaponry behind, helicopters, all kinds of stuff,
Brian,
millions and millions.
I've got to tell you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that our military does
Hmm.
is when we go into a theater of operations, we make sure that we have plenty, and actually maybe even excessive amounts of supplies, whether it be ammunition, vehicles, tents, fuel, food, just whatever you need for a military to operate. We try to keep excess so that if something goes wrong with our supply chain, that the people on the ground in a forward operating area don't wind up suffering. So when you talk about some of the stuff that we've left behind, much of the American public has no idea how much that really is.
It's a lot. I've been hearing more and more about it, and it's billions of dollars at this point. Billions. I
Well,
mean,
it's not just the money though,
right.
because if you leave billions of dollars
Yep.
behind, that can be used to purchase weapons, but they've actually got weapons right now that are in their hands that they can use. And, I was talking to my wife the other day and she said, "What if we had to go back in?" I said, "We can't." And she said, "What do you mean we can't?" And I said, "We have left so much of our top shelf weaponry behind that it would cost us so much in lives lost, to go against our own weaponry. We would win in the end because we have the resources, but it just at what expense?" I mean, I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
With the aircraft that we've left behind. Now, what I'm about to say, I want you to think, hard about this.
Mm-hmm.
The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than the Australian military.
That's correct. I've actually heard that myself.
Now, think about that. I mean, Australia's,
yes.
They've been an ally of ours since before World War II. I mean, we fought side by side with Australia, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and it's like, and they've got a fairly substantial military.
Yes, they
And
do.
so now just what we've left behind, just helicopters, just Black Hawk helicopters, that's not including any attack helicopters and personnel transport helicopters. That's just Black Hawk helicopters. They now have more than Australia.
That's really terrible. I mean, it's just terrible. And what's going on? Guns left on the ground, ammo, and all kinds of stuff left there. Look, you think? Let me go into this, guys. Do you think China and Russia aren't going to move right in on this? Trust me,
Well,
they're going to back these people
I'll throw
up.
Another wrinkle at you on that. Here's another wrinkle. Okay, one of the biggest things that goes on in the military world is wanting to know what you're up against as far as weapons. So,
Right.
for example, for years and years, whenever the Israelis would get into a conflict with a Soviet-backed country, we always wanted the Israelis to turn over some of their captured equipment to us so that we could study it and know what the Russians were building. And so by us leaving all this equipment behind, guess who's going to have firsthand experience with our equipment?
China and Russia. Cool.
They both have borders with Afghanistan.
Yep.
And both of them are, setting up treaties with the Taliban. And so what the Taliban's going to do is they're going to say, "Tell you what, we will let you study their equipment and learn everything that you need to know as long as you teach our guys how to use it."
Correct. And they already have pilots. That's the crazy thing. Some of the Taliban, they have pilots.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So this is I am so shocked. So he went against his military advisors. They told him not to do this. He said, "Do it anyway." Did you hear about that?
Oh, absolutely. And well, see, let me go ahead and expand on why they told him not to do it. Okay. Now, anybody knows that when you are going to do any kind of a withdrawal, whether it's a withdrawal like what we were talking about, or whether it's an actual like retreat under fire in combat, if you're losing or, something like that, you still have to have a plan. And so what happened was we're seeing basically the fruits of not having a plan. Joe Biden heard that President Trump was going to pull our troops out of Afghanistan. So he said, "Well, not only am I going to do it, but I'm going to do it earlier than President Trump agreed to."
Mm-hmm.
Well, and because, orange man bad, they decided not to use President Trump's plan for withdrawal. And I know you and I have discussed this, that President Trump actually had a solid plan for withdrawal. And a lot of President Trump's plan from withdrawal was based on, failed withdrawals in the past. What you do is you look at what went wrong and you say, "Okay, we're not going to do that." So they had an order of withdrawal. They were going to first get any civilians that, needed to be removed from Afghanistan for their own safety or because they wanted to leave, you get those people out first. And you do it fairly quietly so that you don't alert the potential enemy.
Right.
Then what you do is then you take, after your civilians, any government workers that are not military, and you start transitioning those people out. And then after you transition the government workers out, then you destroy anything that can't be left behind lest it fall into enemy hands and they're able to use it. Helicopters, drones, machine guns, rifles, cannons, whatever other equipment, you destroy the equipment. And what President Trump was talking about doing was not only was he going to destroy the equipment, he was going to destroy the military aircraft capable runways so that countries like China and Russia can't move in. And then after you do that, then you pull your final military people out.
Right.
So Joe Biden did it exactly the opposite. He said, oh, America wants us to pull out our military people. Well, yes, after everybody else is out.
Right.
But he got it wrong. So he pulls out the military. Now we have no way to evacuate our civilians, our government workers, and we've left all that equipment behind, and it's too late to go back and destroy it because it's now in the hands of the Taliban.
So you know what, too? Let's go back to when Biden or Obama was in office. We had a very weak military. Trump said it. We had a very weak military. They had to get all kinds of parts and rebuild and do a lot. It took a lot of money to get our military built back up. Guess what? The military equipment, a lot of it is over there. Biden, you're a failure. You are a failure. We're all really frustrated. Every time I turn on anything, when I see it on the news, when I see people chatting, I go into Twitter. I'm seeing live chat going on, all kinds of stuff out there. I see the briefings, what's going on actually. And I used to see a lot of people supporting Biden. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing even some of the left turning on him. They're like, this is absolutely uncalled for. He doesn't even know what's going on. This is how bad it is. And Harris takes off. She's leaving the country to go do something else. While Biden goes in, now he's back out, but he went back in vacation. This is a critical problem right now, Biden. And you go on vacation? Wake up. Wake up. You should not be president.
Because we're in a day and age where, we're able to be contacted at, basically the drop of a hat 24/7.
Yeah.
It's like we've all got cell phones, email, laptops, everything like that. And the level of communication that you and I have is even nothing compared to what he has.
Right.
So here he is. He's literally, like you said, on vacation. And a tragic sequence of events is happening.
That's true.
And he doesn't even show up for a day or two.
I know.
We're talking tragedy. And then he flies into Washington, gives a half-baked press conference, doesn't answer any questions, and then jumps back on the helicopter and goes back on vacation.
I know.
Brian, if at my company, if I was on vacation and they called me and said that, there was a great problem at work and I needed to handle it, if I just flew in and gave a presentation to my boss and jumped back on a plane and flew back to vacation, I wouldn't have a job when I came off vacation.
Right.
It's like, I don't understand the mentality of Joe Biden thinking that, well, you know what, I'm just not even going to bother with this. And he knows that this is a gigantic failure, but he won't admit it.
Of course not. He's got an ego that's really it's crazy. He's always had an ego. We know that. We've seen it.
But if you watch his body language too, and his verbiage, he gets very combative and defensive when people call him out on this. Well, you don't get defensive and combative if you're correct.
Right.
Because you just lay the facts out and show the other person why they're wrong. You get combative and defensive when you know that you're wrong and you have no leg to stand on and, you're embarrassed.
Right. Exactly right. And I know when you just said that, we had some of the left go, well, guess what? Trump used to get mad. I'm just going in this for a reason. Well, Trump had reporters that would just attack him constantly, and they had no idea what they were talking about. They were wrong on everything they were talking about. And obviously, we're seeing it. I'm going to say it. We're seeing the facts where Trump was right on everything he said. We're seeing it on everything. But Going back into this right now, I mean, I already heard today, and Biden was saying, this was as of yesterday, I believe yesterday, Biden, or maybe this morning even, Biden said, no one's getting hurt over there. Do you know how much video is coming out right now? We have,
Ryan, I know you got a G-rated show, so I'm going to use the word nonsense. But then, the word nonsense, a lot of people out there might understand and interpret that into a fresh cow pie. Okay,
yeah,
so
but it just amazes me. I am just totally shocked with everything going on right now. So, but going back into this, they're showing all these videos coming out, and they are now saying people are getting hung. They've seen people getting hung right now. I mean, hanging in the streets. They're going.
Ryan, there was a woman that was shot the other
Yep.
day simply for not covering her face.
Right. And I'm going to go back to a CNN reporter in a minute on that, because I'll tell you what happened there, but we'll go back to that. So people they're going door to door. They're trying to find anybody who cooperates with America right now. You know what Joe Biden said? He's out there going, oh, well, guess what? They're cooperating with us. Oh, yeah, right. What world does he live in? They're not cooperating at all. They're killing people is what they're doing. They're raping people, killing people. I mean, come on. This is all on Biden.
I'll share something with you as far as the cooperation.
Go ahead.
One of the things, and this had my blood boiling when I heard this. I was listening to an interview with a retired Marine officer.
Yeah.
And he's got some friends that are over there that are in special operations.
Yep.
And they were discussing what was going on. Well, our soldiers, our Marines, and our Navy SEALs and everything like that right now are all hunkered down in the airport in Kabul.
Yep.
So they're all sitting inside the fence, or, what you hear in the movies, inside the wire.
Yep.
Okay. So they're all sitting inside the fence over there at the airport, and they can't even leave because the Taliban is ringing the airport with their fighters, and they're stopping people from trying to get out. Yep. So the British have sent in some units of paratroopers, and those paratroopers are like, screw this, man. Yep. They're going out and they're finding the British citizens, and they're finding the loyal Afghans that worked with the British, and they're sending patrols out to go get them.
Oh, yeah.
So the other day, okay, and this person I was listening to be interviewed, the other day his friend said that one of the British officers got in a huge argument with one of the American officers because the British officer took his patrol out and went and got some people and brought them back. And the American told him to knock it off because they're making the Americans look bad and they're messing up the American agreement. And it's like, what American agreement? Okay. Right. The British are actually out there doing what should be done. And I got to tell you something. I've worked with some of the British soldiers, and I've worked with the British Marines, and those are, the ones I've worked with were always very good at what they did, just like us, and they're very professional, and they've got a job to do. They're doing it. That's what I'm used to the Americans doing. I'm not used to American soldiers sitting back and saying, well, we're just going to sit here and hope everything goes well. And that does not sit well with me, that right now we're trying to tell other countries that they shouldn't do it the right thing because it's making us look bad. No, what's making us look bad is us not doing anything.
Right. No, and I've got a friend who has an app that watches, and I've got it too, and you can actually see the planes that are flying over Afghanistan, and he can tell. He looks, he said, British plane, they're going in, they're trying to get people out. They're doing a variety of things too. They're trying their best. There's a lot going on from Britain, and thank you, Britain, for actually stepping up, doing the right thing. Yes, our soldiers, again, are basically cuffed. Let's just say that. They're cuffed. They're not allowed to do what they really need to do right now because we have a terrible, terrible, terrible president. And what's going on up in D.C. right now, I mean, the whole group of them, from Nancy Pelosi saying he's doing a terrific job. Nancy Pelosi, I don't even know where she is. She's out there too. She needs to be impeached. I've said that before.
There that our failures are not our soldiers.
That's where I'm going.
And I just want to agree with you on that. Because just in case anybody misunderstands what I'm saying, I am not calling out our soldiers and saying that they're not good. It's not their fault.
Correct.
These failures, their failures are coming from way above their pay grade.
Yep.
and basically they're being hamstrung. And I've got to tell you, Brian, I have spoken to, even though it's before my
Yep.
generation, while I was in the Marines, I spoke to many Vietnam veterans.
Hmm.
And, whether they were veterans of the service or whether they were still in, I spoke to many people that served in Vietnam, and they told me that when they were allowed to do their job, nobody could stop them. That the only thing that
Right.
stopped us in Vietnam was the politicians telling them, well, let's not do this or let's not do that, or let's only do it at half speed, or, whatever. And that's what's happening right now. And so our failures are not anything to do with the capabilities of our
Correct.
soldier. It's nothing to do with the will of our soldiers. Our Marines, our sailors, our airmen. It's nothing to do with their personal or professional shortcomings.
Right.
It's the leadership.
And that's where I was going with their hands are tied, because we definitely, as you know, I always support our military and what they're doing out there. And this is uncalled for. This is definitely uncalled for. And this isn't going away, Biden. It's not going away. They're trying to do, and I'm throwing this out there for a reason. They're trying to push COVID because they're trying to get your focus off of this. And that's another problem. They try to do this, and that's what they do. But again, this is a serious problem that will not go away, Biden. The radical left up there, this isn't going away. And let me tell you, no one is forgetting about this one at all. And I'll tell you, the Afghan people, you have turned their back on them. And I do want to say something. I heard something today, though, that remember all those Afghans? We saw a video or picture of they were on the big plane and they were getting ready to come back. So my understanding of this, that some of those were soldiers, the Afghan soldiers, and we had agreements with them to bring them back. I did hear that. There were some agreements that they're going to be here in the States, and I did hear that. And I heard one of the, what was it, one of the governors, oh gosh, I can't remember where she's from. She's a Republican, but she said that they will take them in because they did do they did fight and do some things and worked on with, right on the side of American soldiers. But they're all scared over there, and you can't blame them.
And they should be. We left them to hang and high and dry.
Exactly. And this is what gets me. If you go back, guys, go into YouTube, Google it, YouTube. Just check out what Biden said a couple weeks ago, that the Taliban's pretty much gone. What world is he living in? And then he said, we're not going to have any. There's a few out there. It's not going to be anything. And it's going to take time even if they try to get back in. Well, guess what? Now he blames that on the military of the Afghanistan military right now. Well, everything falls back to the commander-in-chief of this country right now. It goes
Absolutely.
back on Biden.
And let's look at something. Just 5 weeks ago,
Yep.
in his press conference, he was saying that
Yep.
what is happening right now was not even a possibility.
Right, and that's where
he
I'm
was
going.
saying that this isn't even a possibility.
Yep.
So was he lying then? Was he misinformed then? And if he was misinformed, why haven't we seen some general fired? Why haven't we seen some high-level colonels fired? Why haven't we seen advisors? Because if he was that misinformed, then he doesn't need those people advising him anymore. And if he is that incompetent, then he doesn't need to be president anymore.
Right. And guess what? We're going back to what I said just a little while ago. His advisors, military advisors, were against this. So it falls right back on you, President Biden. You're at fault. You're at fault.
Well, and let's look at something else, too, because you're going to get a lot of people that say,
I don't care what they say about me
he's
right
only
now.
been president for, 8 months and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to call nonsense on that again. Okay, because he's been in D.C. for 47 years.
You got it.
And eight of that was as vice president, which means he got the same briefings the president got.
Correct.
When he was the vice president. So he knew exactly who the players were, what their capabilities were, and what their intentions were should we pull out. So this isn't like all of a sudden a surprise to him. Okay, well, then again, in his mental capacity, I think every morning might be a surprise to him. It might be like that movie 50 First Dates. It's like we're, every day he wakes up and it's a new day, and it's like, and they have to remind him of what his name is and,
Yeah.
where he lives and everything like that. I don't know, but,
Yeah.
it's not like he didn't know. This is a guy that's been on
Yeah.
the inside and in the
Absolutely.
know for a long time.
Right. Yeah, and it just goes back to show what's happening. He's gone back to a lot of what Obama did, and it was a nightmare. We saw what happened. I mean, just go back to everything Obama did, but this is far worse. He's far worse than even what Obama did.
Yep.
I mean,
I fully agree with you on that. I mean, I got to tell you, when Obama was president,
yeah,
I used to joke around, but I was not really joking about how Jimmy Carter could sleep well at night, knowing that he would no longer be listed as the worst president in the history of the United States because Obama had far surpassed him in that aspect.
yeah.
I got to tell you something that it looks like Joe Biden may leave Obama in the dust.
Exactly.
Like,
That's your legacy. That's your legacy, Joe Biden. The worst president in history. That is your legacy. With all your radical left up there with you, all your group up there, they're all just as bad when it comes to Harris and all.
What we would refer to this in basketball or baseball or football or hockey. It's a blowout. It's not even close. I think Biden, I mean, he's only 8 months in office and he's failed so dramatically that by the time if he makes 4 years in office, I mean, it's not even going to be close. It's going to be a blowout. He's going to own that title of worst president in history easily.
Yeah. And
one other thing on that aspect,
you're right.
I'll throw this out to you.
Okay.
I understand. I disagree with it, but I understand why people vote a particular letter behind the name of a candidate. Oh, I've always been a Democrat, so this guy has a D behind his name. I'm going to vote for him. I'm a Republican. The guy has an R behind his name. I'm going to vote. I don't like that because what you're doing is you're saying, I don't really care about our country as long as my party, has their guy in the White House. And I've never liked that. But, let's throw that aside for a second. If you voted for Joe Biden, and I don't mean you personally, I'm just saying in general, somebody did. If you voted for Joe Biden, I can understand why you did it. I disagree with it. I don't think it's correct.
Right.
And I think you made a mistake. But if you still support him right now, seeing what he has done, then I would like to congratulate you for lowering the IQ of any room that you walk into.
That's true. It is very true. And I've actually been texting some people back and forth that I can kind of say that about right now. Not going to mention names. They know who they are.
And the reason they get upset with you is because they know you're right about that.
Absolutely.
They don't like the fact that they're stupid, but they know they are.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Well, and I shouldn't say stupid, but they're uninformed.
Uninformed. Let's just say that because I know a lot of them, and they're very smart in many things, but uninformed in this area and a couple other areas that I've done a lot of research and work and finding out what's going on because I speak right to the source instead of right to listening what's on TV. I don't listen to everything on TV. I will be playing a segment here because we need to listen to a few minutes of this, what's really going on over there. And, you talk about this right here when it comes to voting for your party. Look, when Trump was running, when he was first running, there was somebody on the Democrat, I can't remember who it is, was pretty somebody I was really listening to, let's say. I can't remember his name because they kept the cameras off him. They were focused on Hillary. They were focused on Trump. But I just wanted to go ahead and mention that, what Jerry's going into with this. So definitely vote for the person sometimes. Yeah, I would love to see the party do the right thing. But again, it's a failure here on the Democrat side. And it has been for years. So anyway, why don't I play this little segment here? It's going to be just a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and talk about it because I'm actually going to be putting video on eventually, not yet, but probably in the next 2 weeks or something. I'm going to have to start getting in and doing some editing and stuff on my podcast, or I should say on my YouTube channel, because I need to get some video clips in there. I need you guys to really see what's going on. But let's play the segment and then we'll see. This one is coming from Fox News, but there's other news channels out there that are reporting, and I'm going to say it. Oh, I wanted to mention this, by the way, Jerry. CNN reporter, and I may have mentioned it the other night, was over there. And first of all, she's going through as the Taliban were coming through, and she goes, oh, they're smiling. They're going to be nice. Pretty much like they're the happiest people in the world. Of course, they're the happiest people in the world. They're going to be taking over and doing all kinds of evil stuff. But when she was going through this, at the probably the end of it all, when she was talking, all of a sudden they were talking and interviewing with her and everything else. And she got shocked because guess what? One of them said, move over there. And she goes, why? Because you're a woman. I said, move over there. And then she realized, uh-oh, she was scared. She was terrified. So I wanted to bring that up because that was something I saw in the news. And it was on CNN, by the way. CNN's actually, I'll say it, some of the other news sites are not as harsh on Biden, but they can't back out of this. There's nothing that can be hidden. So they had no choice but to report.
You have to just admit what the truth is.
Right. And good reporters report on actual facts and what's going on, and they report on the news. That's what they should be doing, reporting on actual facts and the news. Not what they do, what they've been doing. They either get one going one way or one going the other. But anyway, let's go ahead and play the segment, okay?
Gotcha.
All right. Those are people running down the street. They're running in fear.
New video of the Taliban firing on protesters in Kabul, showing no mercy to those who challenge its authority. Desperation is growing on the streets of Afghanistan as the worst fears about a Taliban reign of terror come true. Now, a chilling intelligence report says the Taliban are going door to door, hunting down anyone who helped the United States. Apparently, even surrendering is not enough, with the Taliban reportedly executing those who give themselves up. Meantime, the future looking bleak for those living in constant fear. Take a listen to this female Afghan journalist.
I had lots of dreams, I had lots of hopes for Afghanistan, but now I am in a bad situation and I'm just trying to find the way. In these 20 years, we had a better life than today, but today no one, no Afghan people, especially women, they didn't feel safe. Please help the Afghan people because the situation is very bad. In these 6 days, every day my mom's crying because of me.
Okay. We just heard that. 20 years, everything was great. Within a blink of an eye, just because someone makes a wrong decision and a very bad decision, people's lives are ruined.
Well, not just ruined, but lost.
Destroyed. And that's very sad to hear that. Very sad. I mean, it actually was. I mean, I could sit here and I almost want to, break down like a little baby. And I mean, I'm like literally upset to see this stuff going on. And America is. And I'm starting to see a lot of Americans are tired of this. So,
well, I was talking to my wife about this the other day. And, you just mentioned 20 years.
Yeah.
And here's something that some people need to really think about when they hear what I'm about to say. Some of these women right now that are graduating college over in Afghanistan, which, by the way, now puts them in danger of being educated. But some of these women that are graduating college right now were not born the last time the Taliban was in control. So now what you have women that are in their 20s that are educated. They are looking for a career path. And by being educated and looking for a career path, they are now in danger of being executed or tortured or both.
Or raped.
And our Democrat leadership is what has facilitated this. And I don't want to say they're okay with it, because I think if they actually knew what was going on, they like to play dumb and say, oh, it's like a little kid that closes his eyes and says, you can't see me, my eyes are closed.
Yeah.
They think that because they don't actually see it happening, that that it's not happening. But the Democrats are fully responsible for what is going on right now. And I will tell you right now that, the Democrats, they disgust me.
Yes,
And,
they do.
and I can't even emphasize the word disgust enough right now, because right now what they have done is there are, like you said, there are women over there being raped. There are girls as young as 12 and 13 that are being handed over to Taliban fighters as brides. There are educated women that are being persecuted simply because they went to school.
Correct.
And they're going to be executed. They're going to be raped. They're going to be, tortured. There's all these things that are going to happen to them. And it's like all because our president is so incompetent that he couldn't follow a proper plan of withdrawal.
Right. Let me go into this, Jerry. If we remember just hearing that video in the beginning, they were talking about people were protesting. Now, if we go back 20 years ago, people did not protest when the Taliban was around. They knew better. You couldn't. And this goes back to what you were just saying. Some of these people weren't around back then. And these protesters, when I was watching a lot of them running down the street, they were probably in their early 20s, mid-20s in that area. So they don't remember all this. And they're out there going, we can protest because the U.S. was over here and we're used to this type of life. Picture this. I actually want to paint a picture of this. All right, let's just say this happened in the U.S. Let's just say for all of you out there that are in your 20s, and all of a sudden, the Taliban, we got taken over. Let's just say the U.S. gets taken over by the Taliban. Let's look at it that way. Paint a picture. And you're going out there and protesting, and all of a sudden, you're going to be shot. You're going to be executed for any thought that you have out there, any type of protest. Picture that. Put yourself in the shoes of these people right now. You guys really, really, and that goes for anybody, any Democrat, any Republican, any independent, anybody, any American. Look what's going on and really focus on getting Biden impeached. Really focus on it. It's a failure
of Joe Biden and the Democrats.
And it's all of them. It's not just him.
And with what you just said,
right?
Okay, here's what's really ironic about the whole thing.
Yeah.
The Democrats are the reason. The Democrats that are in office right now are the reason for the failure of Afghanistan and what's going on right now. And Democrats that are supporting them, Democrat voters, these are the people that run around and say, oh, we need to address people with the pronoun that they wish to be addressed by. And, we need to be, inclusive of everybody and everything like that. Well, you know what? You just put in power a people, the Taliban, that don't believe in inclusiveness of anybody. It's my way or the highway. And by the highway, that means, we kill you.
Yeah.
And so, so now what they've taken, you want gay people to be included in society? The Taliban doesn't agree with that.
Nope.
And I've lived in Islamic countries before.
Yes.
And I've served in Islamic countries. And depending on how hardline the government is, the fact that you're a homosexual is an executable offense in some of those countries.
Right.
And the Taliban are as hardline as it gets. So, gay people, no, they're not going to be accepted. Educated women, not going to be accepted. And so all these things, you walk up to a Taliban fighter and tell him that you have your own pronouns and that he's to address you by your own pronouns. Guess what? That's a bullet in your forehead, my friend.
Yep. And religion. Guess what?
Yeah,
that's what it's mainly about. You don't agree with the religion, what they say, guess what? You're dead.
And they don't make any bones about it. They don't take you out and hide behind a building and do it. They'll do it right in the street in front of everybody to make an example of it.
Look, I have a friend who's actually from over there. I'm going to say this, who is now here, and he was over there 20 some years ago. And I'm not going to get into his name and all, but he was shot in the head because of a different belief. And that's, he didn't get shot. When they shot him, they actually skimmed the side of his head, but he left the country as fast as he could and got out of there. He was lucky to get out. And he told me that story. And you can see the scar. and he's from over there. And he said, you cannot say anything or do anything. It is just crazy. I do want to bring this up to everybody here. Remember 9/11? For those of you who don't, go ahead, research it, go back, and don't forget it. Because guess what? The Taliban, you think they're just going to stay over there? No. I'm sure we're going to start seeing attacks over here eventually as soon as they get more organized, and all of a sudden we're going to have another 9/11, and that will go on Joe Biden's record as well, and the radical left up there, all because they want power instead of being Americans and doing the right thing.
Yeah, Democrats ceased being Americans many years ago.
Yeah. I have to agree. I'm starting to see a lot of it out there.
And I hate to say that because they are a political party here in America, but they have lost their American values. They are pushing for socialism. Some are even pushing for communism.
Yeah.
And and they talk about the changes they want to make to the Constitution. I'm sorry, the Constitution doesn't need changes.
No, it does not. And I'm just, you said something earlier about Biden being in office for another 3.5, whatever years. I mean, I don't know if he'll make it that long, if they'll impeach him or not, or maybe, his age might get to him. I hope they do impeach him. I hope there's a way around this. I heard they're going to do something. I know Green's trying to work on some stuff, and I know people are against her. They think she's crazy, but guess what? Who's really crazy right now? We're seeing it. It's not Green.
Anybody that votes for Biden?
Right. It's not Green. It's at first it was Green. It's the My Pillow guy. It's it's Trump. It's everything that the Democrats wanted to go against. And now guess what? Who's the crazy ones? Them.
Here's what I want to throw out in I don't want to go off on a tangent because I know sometimes you and I are really good about we'll take a second subject and we wind up chasing that squirrel.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I'm not going to go that far, but I just want to throw something out there that for people that like to talk about, Marjorie Taylor Greene and, she's crazy and her, her thoughts and her accusations are crazy. Well, then why don't you prove it?
Yes.
If you think that she is so far gone that, her ideals about, possibly a fraudulent election or, election malfeasance, things like that. If they're wrong, then prove it. Why are you hiding it? Why are you, suing these groups that want to do forensic recounts and things like that? If you want to prove somebody's crazy, the best way to do them is expose them to the light of day.
Yeah.
If you think Mike Lindell is crazy, hey, you know what? I'd be willing to bet that if Mike Lindell and I sat down, we would disagree on plenty.
Sure.
We'd agree on a lot, but we'd disagree on plenty.
Of course.
And that's fine. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite quotes of all time is Winston Churchill, who once said, if two people agree on everything, one of you is not necessary. And so that's fine. I can disagree with people, but there's a lot of things that Mike Lindell has brought up that the Democrats just kind of, say, oh, yeah, that's conspiracy theory. That's crazy. And it's like, well, then prove it. Go out and show because and whether it's Marjorie Greene, Mike Lindell, Donald Trump, me, you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. If you think we're wrong, prove it.
Yeah, absolutely prove it.
Don't hide it.
Not from CNN, not from the other news sources. We want actual proof when it comes to this and many things.
Well, I mean, for example, it's like looking at what's going on in Afghanistan. Don't say, hey, like the president, there's no violence taking place over there. I'm sorry. I've seen the video that proves you wrong.
Many videos coming out there.
If you want to prove me wrong, then show me the evidence, not something you think, not something that, one of your, press secretaries has written. Show me actual evidence.
Yeah.
Show me, a Taliban guy walking down the street holding hands with a very masculine lesbian holding flowers and a peace sign hanging around his neck. Show me that. You won't find it, but,
Right.
But it's like, but let's, we need to get away from the whole he said, she said, and start laying out facts and proof.
Right. No, and I mean, I'm going to go something. I know Jerry's going to disagree with me on this. I know you said something a few minutes ago. There's a reason why I'm going down this road. Jerry, you said that I know you're just bitter right now against the Democrats. I get it. Some of you Democrats, I do have some family members out there who are Democrats, and I don't want to say anything to the point where I say, no, I don't hate the Democrats. I don't hate, it's the radicals. The problem is with the Democratic Party, though, is you've said it before. Get the knowledge of what's going on. Leave the party. Just leave the party. We're not against you personally. It's not you. It's the what you're doing by staying with a party that's radical like that. I don't care if you go Republican or Independent or whatever the case may be. Just leave that party. You're supporting the party, especially with what's going on right now. And I mean, I've got an aunt and a couple other people that are Democrats, and that's fine, but they're just misinformed, and leave the party. That's you and I've said this before, and I know we're all angry. There's a lot of anger going on. If it's not what's going on in the country here, we're not going to get into all that. We've broken that down many times, but we're all angry, especially what's going on in Afghanistan, and a lot of liberals are angry about this as well. I've spoken with many of them, and they're saying, I am very upset over this. And a lot of them say some of them will say, not a lot, but some of them are going to go, it's Trump's fault. It's all about Trump. No, it's actually not. The person in office is in charge right now. It falls back on him. It falls back on all of them.
Office. I mean, I do agree with you that 90% or plus is who's in office. But the problem is that the previous administration, the Trump administration, even though it wasn't an ideal situation, left him a stable situation. And he left him a plan of withdrawal that Biden would not use because, like I said, orange man bad. Yeah. So, Biden and his administration said, well, we can't use Trump's plan because then when it gets out that it was Trump's plan, then that will make us look bad. And it's like, so they are willing to allow what's going on right now in Afghanistan just so they don't have to admit that Trump was right and they used his plan.
Right.
So they're letting people get murdered, tortured, raped, have their property stolen from them.
Yes.
Things like that. And it's like simply so they don't have to admit that President Trump was right.
Right. No. And there's many
things. And that's disgusting.
It is. It's very disgusting. Well,
Well, I mean, Brian, let's say, and I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but let's think after 20 years in Afghanistan.
I know.
Okay. What must be the thoughts going through the heads of our veterans of Afghanistan?
That's where I was getting ready to go next,
went over
too.
There and that fought alongside the Afghani soldiers, and the ones that actually made relationships with people in the villages and people in the cities, and made friends with those people, and said, "Gosh, I come from the greatest country in the world, and we're going to help you guys try and model yourself and make yourself a great country as well." Where people are free and their dreams are unfettered, and they can accomplish anything that they set their mind to. And it's like, so our veterans now think about how they feel right now as far as how they've let down those people and how inadvertently they lied to them. And then you look at the war dead. Okay, what did they die for? It's like so that Biden could pull everybody out and let this whole thing go to heck in a handbasket. Right. And what about the Gold Star families, the families that are still alive? That lost somebody over there.
I was listening to them the other day, by the way.
Altruistic methods and altruistic reasons. And now, because we've got an incompetent president and a corrupt Democrat Party, and now their family member died for nothing.
Yep. And we got people out there, soldiers out there missing arms, legs, and all that they sacrificed. And now they're over here going, well, God, I lost my arm or my leg because of this incompetent president. It's great. And then these people have friends. I mean, these soldiers have friends that are over there. A lot of Americans are still over there right now. This whole thing was a mess. It's a disaster. And they even got friends that are, from Afghanistan that are people there. And now all of a sudden they can't reach their friends, family, all kinds of stuff's going on. This is the worst. This is one of the worst disasters I've ever seen in this country. And I'm trying to hold back because I am actually boiling over this. And I am
It was funny because just a couple of weeks ago, you and I were talking.
Yeah.
And I said one of my greatest fears was that if Afghanistan went bad, that we would have a similar ending as we had in Vietnam with the pictures of the helicopter leaving the embassy roof and the people trying to climb on. And at that time, I thought that if that happened, that was probably 4, 5, 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years away.
Yeah.
Who knew that it was literally at that time just weeks away?
Right. Let's talk about Saigon. Let's talk about what Biden only said about 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we'll never see this. Well, guess what? You're wrong. He's wrong.
Well, and that's where I hearken back to, are you that uninformed? And if you are, the people that informed you need to be fired.
Right.
Or are you that incompetent that you were given the proper information and you just mismanaged it and you're that incompetent? But so either all the people that informed him need to be fired, or he needs to be removed or step down.
Jerry, and you being a soldier and all, let me ask you a question. I heard a soldier speaking about this today. Look, we had, what's that general's name? He's a 4 or 5-star general right now, and I can't remember his name. But he was talking about critical race theory just a couple days ago. Who cares? Look, I'm going to say it. I've spoken to soldiers. They don't look at that when they're in the military. I don't care if you're white, black, whatever the case. That is your brother. You are protecting them. They're protecting you. And you guys are close, and that's what it's about. Jerry, you were in all this. What's your thought there?
You know what? When I was in boot camp, I still remember my drill instructor, and there's a lot of things you remember from, boot camp because it was a very impactful time in your life. And I still remember my drill instructor, and, he pulled a black guy out from the lineup, and he's like, "What color is he?" And everybody's like, "Oh, he's black." And it's like, and he pulls a white guy out. "What color is he?" "Oh, he's white." And it's like, and he pulls this Hispanic guy out. "What color is he?" Well, he's, Mexican or whatever. They did, we didn't know all the different nationalities and races and everything. So we said he's Mexican. And our drill instructor said, "You know what? See this guy? You all said he was black. He's green.
Yeah.
See this guy that's Mexican? He's green. You see this white guy? He's green.
Right.
He's not white. He's not black. He's not Mexican. He's green."
Yeah.
And, we were all green. Now, we would kind of joke around because if we were trying to describe somebody, then later, we would say, well, the dark green guy or the light green guy. It's like, so, we would use that, but we were green. And so you're right. It's like, so this critical race theory, okay, it's nonsense in the civilian community for one, but to try and install it in the military and to, basically what you're doing is you're creating a division where there was none before.
Yeah, and a lot of people are not happy with this general because that was said and many other things he's not doing right. But, and I've got to say it. I've actually got, and I hate using the words white and black and all that, but I've got and I'm getting off track a little bit here, but I've got, a matter of fact, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to a wedding and it's great. And I'll have a new kind of, I say brother-in-law or whatever, and he's black. And, I hate to use the words white and black, but this guy, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a fantastic person, and I don't look at color when I see him. I really don't. I look at a person. You shouldn't be worried
about whether you use that term or not, because all you're doing is you're giving a description of their physical appearance. So that, and it's like, when we say somebody is white or Asian or black or Hispanic or, whatever it is, we're not saying that that's who they are.
Right.
It's just a physical description of that person.
Right.
And so, and so the whole point of us saying, but if you go back when you and I were kids, and it's like, because I know you and I are only like 6 months apart or 8 months apart or something like that.
Yeah.
But, if you go back to when we were kids, that was all that was. It was a description of who somebody's, what their physical appearance was. And now what we've done is we've taken that to where, if I call somebody black, that's incorrect. And it's like, no, it's not. It's just a physical description. So when we go to the critical race theory in the military, two things are happening. One, it's an improper venue for that particular training. And so, but then what it does, it also creates a divide.
Yeah.
That when you put these people in combat, now all of a sudden, you got guys wondering, well, since I'm black, is that guy going to support me if the stuff hits the fan?
Yeah.
And it's like, because our leadership has created that division with this critical race theory nonsense.
Yeah, I know.
And so, I mean, and so that's, and the reason I'm using this example is
Right.
I'm trying to bring it back in a circle to,
Right.
what's going on in Afghanistan. And it's like, the success we had over there was not done by just black people or just
Right.
white people or
Right.
just Hispanics or just, Afghanis. And
Yes.
it's like, it was an amalgamation of different races, religions,
Right.
genders, and they were all working together. And, and that's why they were successful. And
Yeah.
what they're doing is they're using the critical race theory as kind of a, like the sleight of hand magician does, where he holds something shiny in front of you to keep
Right.
your attention while he's, pulling his magic trick behind your back. And then when you see the magic trick, you're like, wow, I never saw that coming. Well, of course not,
Right.
because you were watching the shiny thing in his other hand.
Yeah.
And critical race theory is a shiny thing to keep our minds off of the real problems that we're having.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I brought up, and I'm getting off subject, but we're going to go back to Afghanistan. But, I did bring this up the other night. I'm not for Black Lives Matter. It's not about the black people. And I hate to use this word because I don't want to see color, but it's about what's going on there. And I just wanted you guys to remember that, because you're probably saying, oh, he said that, so he's not saying. No, it's not. It's not about that at all. It's just about what it stands for now with the burning of the buildings. Anyway, we'll talk about that another
Brian,
time.
one thing, and I'll leave this, and then we can move back over to Afghanistan. But it's okay to see color. It's just not okay to discriminate on the basis of color.
That's it's a very good point.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, it's like if my kids are talking about like, hey, I'm going to bring my friend so-and-so home. And it's like, oh, tell me about your friend. Oh, well, my friend's black. And it's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. That's, it's just a description of the person. So it's okay to use the different terms, as long as you're not using it as a discriminatory avenue. Just like, for example, there's plenty of, and I won't use any of them, but there's plenty of discriminatory names of, people over in the Middle East and Afghanistan.
Sure.
And I'm sure that they have their discriminatory terms against us.
Yeah.
It's okay to recognize that somebody's different and how they're different and why they're different, as long as you don't use that as a manner of discrimination.
That's true. And that's exactly where I'm going with this. And that is, so anyway, let's go back to Afghanistan. Guys, go ahead, and any more on that, Jerry? I know we could go on Afghanistan for a while. There's going to be so much coming out of this in the next couple months, stories. I don't know if we're going to get all the Americans out of there. I don't know if we're going to get people out of there. Even if some Afghans still need, from my understanding, there's some Afghans that fought next to us and all, and we had a deal with them to bring them over in case anything ever happens like this. I learned about this today, by the way. And we should honor our word. We should honor our word, and definitely, and bring them and their families over.
Well, and what you're mentioning, there's something really important to take into account here. If we don't take care of, we've already blown it as far as keeping Afghanistan a free country. We've blown that. That's gone. That ship has sailed.
Yep.
Can't close the door, because the barn door, because the horse is already out. That ship has sailed. So one of the consequences of that is, going forward, the next country that needs help, if we go to them and say, hey, I'm your guy, I can help you, they're going to be like, yeah, we saw how you helped Afghanistan, and we saw how you helped Vietnam before that, and you sort of helped Korea, and they wound up a divided country, and you left the North and the South still divided. So the next country, well, guess what? When we are no longer recognized as the country that's going to help them, that's when some slick talker from China is going to come in and go, hey, you know what? The Americans left those people high and dry. We would never do that to you.
Right.
And, next thing you know, China's in there, Russia's in there, or whatever other country happens to rise to prominence at that point.
Right.
So, now what we've done is we have just damaged our brand, on the world market. And that's kind of scary, because, now all of a sudden you're going to get a country like Germany that says, hey, you know what? World War II was X amount of years ago.
Yep.
You need to remove your bases. Get them out of here. We've seen what you do to these other countries, so get your bases out of here, and it's like, and then now you were talking about bringing in people that helped us.
Right.
I agree with that. If they
Yeah.
helped us, we should bring them in. But right now,
Absolutely.
since we didn't have a plan and
Hmm.
everything's gone off the rails,
Yep.
now what they're just saying is we're just going to bring in everybody that wants to come.
Right.
Well, and by the way, who
Yeah.
pays for that?
We do.
Exactly. And not only
Yep.
do you and I pay for that, but on top of you and I paying for that, a lot of these people, Afghanistan isn't America by a long shot. People don't grow up going to school from the time they're 5 years old in kindergarten until high school.
Right.
These are people that many can't even read and write in their own language.
Yes.
So now we're going to bring them here to the United States,
Right.
and they will not have the ability to read and write in their own language, let alone in ours.
Right.
They have no marketable skills because they lived in some village somewhere and, raised livestock, or they grew crops just enough to feed their family.
Right.
And they have no marketable skills in our society. So basically, we're not just going to be paying for them for the short term.
Yeah.
We're going to be paying for them for the rest of their lives because they will have not the capability to do for themselves.
And you know what's going to happen? We're going to have a lot of chaos on the streets and everything else because that's what they're used to, some of them. I mean, they've seen it. And we're going to see that out there. And then some of them we're going to say, oh, we'll get you educated. We'll take you and we'll send you to school. And what do you mean I got to learn all this stuff that are critical race there? Everything we're fighting in schools right now. And I mean, they're going to be like, what the heck? So it's a mess. It really is a mess. And I could go on and on about this all night. It's just, it's got all of us frustrated right now. So, but this story needs to get out there.
One last thing on Afghanistan, because I mean, like you said, we could talk all night about this.
Oh yeah.
The one thing that I'll leave you with that has been a great frustration of mine is watching the lies spew out of the mouths of Jen Psaki, the press secretary.
Oh yeah.
Or out of the defense secretary, and the defense secretary saying, oh, we've got a plan, everything's organized, everything's going well. No, we didn't have a proper plan.
Yes.
Donald Trump had a plan.
Yes.
He decided not to use it.
Right.
But, we don't have, if this was organized, okay, Brian, I got to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I spent 11 years in the Marines.
Yep.
Could I have organized a withdrawal from there? Yes. Would I have been the right person to do it? No, because that wasn't my job. But there are people whose job is to plan things like that. But this was completely disorganized, and they did it completely backwards. And, the defense secretary to get out and say that, this is one of the things that was in part of the contingency plans, that is a lie. That is a bald-faced lie, and it is just absolute and utter nonsense. This is in no way, shape, or form any kind of an organized withdrawal from Afghanistan.
And just remember, guys, I have a saying, when their lips are moving, they're lying.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that. There's a saying out there about it.
I got to tell you, one of my favorite press secretaries of all time, of any president, was Sean Spicer early on in the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And then near the end, Kayleigh McEnany. I thought she was fantastic. Jen Psaki, I wanted to put a brick through the TV almost every time I saw her when she was Obama's press secretary. And it's like, but, she's been even worse as Biden's, because I think that she's been told, look, we don't care how often you lie, as long as you can say it, like Herman, it was either Herman Goering or Joseph Goebbels used to say, if you tell a lie often enough and loud enough, people will start to believe it. That is the philosophy of Jen Psaki.
Yeah.
She's just going to keep lying, and eventually, if she lies long enough people will start believing it.
Well, some of the left, we're not falling for it. A lot of us are not. And I'll tell you what, she mocks people. She mocks people when she speaks. She belittles people when she speaks to people. And I've seen it. I remember once they were talking about Space Force. Go look at it. She goes, Space Force. Like, like she was mocking everybody.
Yep. Yes, says the woman that's never actually accomplished anything in her life.
Anything. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I get so frustrated with a lot of these politicians. These are people, that give their opinions, and they're nothing more than opinions because they have no experience
Right.
to base their opinion on. I mean,
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi's never served in the military. Chuck
Nope.
Schumer never served in the military.
Nope.
Jen Psaki never served in the military. Joe Biden never served in the military, and he likes to talk about, oh, well, my son did. Yeah, and he got kicked out for using cocaine while he was in.
Exactly.
So, yeah, let's talk about that,
And
Joe.
we could go into many other things he's done. A lot of things.
So basically, when you have somebody with that lack of experience, they have to leave everything to their advisors,
Right.
and their advisors have woefully
Yes.
uninformed them.
Look, this goes back into, I want to go back into a couple things. We're almost done here, but I wanted to go back into, first, let's go to North Korea. Like we said, that was a mess. Guess what happened? Politics got into it. That's what messed that whole thing up. We wouldn't be having this problem with China if that weren't the case. Weren't the case. Also, when we go back to Vietnam, again, politics. So, and we could go on to many wars. You go back to the First, Second World Wars, all that wasn't politics. I'll tell you what happened was you saw Americans stand up. They did the right thing. They went ahead. The economy went booming because they were building tanks. They were all standing together. I'll tell you, when 9/11 happened, it was the only time I saw all of America pretty much standing together for a short period of time. And I mean, I even heard people in my neighborhood playing music. I mean, I heard them playing the national anthem. I mean, it put chills across my body. I was so excited to see everybody was unified. And that's the only time I've ever seen it, but it fell apart, obviously, because the left started getting greedy again like they do up there. And, Jerry, you had it a minute ago. The purpose of a president is to, of course, be advised from his military advisors or her military advisors, if we ever get a female president, whatever the case may be. I am not against any of that. But it is about listening to your advisors. They have experience in the military. They know what's going on over there. Generally, they're supposed to. A few of them right now do not, or they're too scared to speak up. And that is exactly the way it works. I mean, Joe Biden, you were not in the military. I'll say I wasn't, even though I was around the military father. And I mean, I've got a military, family. I got quite a few people in the military right now are in my family. And my own father-in-law is retired military, and I respect him for that. And I think he's a great guy. And just to listen to all this stuff going on, I'm sure he's like not happy. I mean, he's probably sitting there going, this is absolutely crazy. And my father's probably rolling over in his grave because he said all this stuff was going to happen. And I'm looking back on, you're right. I didn't get the chance to tell him that either. It all happened right after he passed, but
well, you know
he
what?
knows.
He can hear you saying that right now.
Oh, yeah. I hear
He's
him in my ear going,
right now
guess
going,
what? I told
Brian,
you
can
so.
You say that a little louder?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any more, guys? I definitely anything out there, Jerry? Anything else?
I just, to encapsulate, this has been just a complete failure by the Biden administration, a complete failure by the Democrat Party. And when I say the Democrat Party, because senators, the congressmen, I mean, the House members,
yes,
the senators, everything like that, from top to bottom, this has been a failure by the Biden administration, the Democrat Party. And, a lot of times failures, the victimization is not that bad.
Right.
The victimization here is tragic. It is not like, it's unfortunate. No, it's not unfortunate. It is tragic. People are dying. People are having their lives, as you put it earlier, they're having their lives destroyed. And all because this president is not only incompetent, but he's unwilling to listen to the experts and do the right thing. And the funny thing is, a lot of times in the past, over the years, and many of the training seminars that I've done and the training courses I've done, one of the things that I talk about is, don't ever be afraid of the people who work for you knowing more than you do. You should want that, because someday when you move on, whether it's moving up or changing companies or whatever, the biggest compliment you could ever have is for the person below you to take your place and do as good or better a job than you did. That means you had great people around you. Biden is doing the exact opposite. And what he is doing is he is putting people that are so incompetent that they make him look better because they're so incompetent. But that's the opposite way of doing it, because then you can't trust anybody to actually do anything.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we're having the problems. Man, I watched the guy the other day that's in charge of resettling the Afghan interpreters and everything, everything like that. Okay, first off, he looked like somebody had given him noogies for about half an hour before he came on because his hair was so messed up. But that was the way he had it done to come on camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so you went and put on your $3,000 suit and your $200 necktie, and I'm probably guessing you got $300 or $400 shoes on, and you got about a 37-cent hairdo. And it's like, and then you come out and you're incompetent in what you're talking about. You're more worried about what you look like than knowing what you're doing. And, and this guy came out and he had no idea what he was doing. And whenever anybody would ask him a question, he would go back to his talking points. And the reason I bring that up is that is his entire cabinet. Not one of them can competently answer any questions.
Yeah. Now, we've seen it. A lot of us, I mean, they just can't. I'll get back with you on that. I'll get back with you on that. And they never do.
Well, you saw my T-shirt. Let me circle back.
That's true.
That's Jen Psaki. Let me circle back to you.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, she got so taken to task for the let me circle back thing, but then she started requiring them to submit their questions in advance so that she wouldn't be embarrassed by the inability to intelligently answer a question.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw it today. I saw it right before you and I spoke earlier.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you've seen it yet, but Joe Biden was caught at a press conference where somebody asked him a question about some of the things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at his notes and says, I thought your question was this. So in other words, he already had all the questions and had already written down the answers. And when somebody didn't ask him the question, it was on the page, he was unable to answer it.
Right. That's a good leader.
And it's like, so how is it that this guy can lead a successful withdrawal from a foreign country against a hostile force when he can't even answer questions in the press room?
Oh, I know. Well, that's why he walks away a lot of times when they're talking with him. Hey, we got questions for you. And he just turns and walks. And they're saying he just walked right away, didn't even talk to us. And that's why, because he can't answer the questions.
Yep.
So anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and end this. We've been going on. I thought we were going to do a 30-minute show. We're an hour and 12 minutes now. We do this all the time lately because there's a lot going on out there. But guys, definitely go to my website, www.just-commonsense.com. Again, www.just-commonsense.com. Please go into my email. Please share my YouTube, my podcast. Subscribe. Remember, I'm going to run for Senate here soon. I'm getting geared up, and it's going to be a lot sooner maybe than you think. I have people saying, jump on it now. Jerry, you're one of them.
I'm one of them, yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know.
We need Brian now, folks. We don't need him in a couple of years. We need him now.
I'll do it. Let's do it. I got to get out there and start speaking in front of people. I actually, I'm going to be out there, I'm hoping next weekend in the town of Raleigh. I will see what's going on, and I'm going to get in front of, I'm starting to get in front of the right people, and we'll see how it goes. And Jerry, anything else before we end the show tonight?
Yeah. Thank goodness that you and I discussed this and we decided to stay on one topic tonight. If we already went over an hour on one topic, think if we had talked about two or three.
Oh, there's a few I can go into. I will go into this. Just one thing. I'm going to say it. Yep, it's going to last for about a second. I did a video the other night, a podcast going out to the mayor of Raleigh, the governor. Got nothing back from them. As a matter of fact, the mayor of Raleigh deleted my video. And as you guys know, it was a very calm video. I was asking them to do their job, and I asked a simple question. Probably because they can't answer it, obviously. But I'll still post more stuff out there, and I will be asking them more questions the next few days, and I'll be posting back on their Twitter accounts. Guys, definitely go to their Twitter accounts. But anyway, I just want to say this, as I always say, thank you tonight, especially. Thank you for all our military, including our retired military, our active military, and unfortunately our military soldiers that we lost in many wars. And right now, especially what's going on over here, 20 years of nothingness. It's just like it's gone after all the sacrifices. And guys, we, on behalf of Americans right here in this country, for those of us, and most of us do care, most of us care about you, we are, I hate to embarrass to say, we're sorry for what's going on with you and your families right now, because we are there for you. Just remember, 2022 is coming up. Get the House, get the Senate, get these clowns out of office. They need to go. And Biden should be impeached. I'm telling you, he should be impeached. And I hope Green and them are doing the right thing. She said she was going to file, and a couple others were right with her saying that. I want to see it happen. I really do, because this is uncalled for. This is very bad. Jerry, anything else? And I'm going to go back into the rest of it, or unless you want to.
No, nothing else at this point, Brian.
All right. Again, I want to thank you for our law enforcement. I already thanked our military. I want to thank our first responders, especially with what's going on out there right now. We know COVID cases, so known COVID cases, the new ones, they're saying the amounts are getting a little higher. Again, I won't get into what's fake, not fake. I've heard different stories. We talked about that on one of the shows. The variant's going to be, of course, the variant's going to spread higher, but it's not going to be as deadly. They're trying to say it is, but if you want to look at the history on it, I've spoken to many doctors. But anyway, for the doctors I have spoken with, thank you for stepping up and telling me a lot of the truth, what's going on, and some of you nurses as well. I applaud you. I still would ask for you to at least go on the show. You don't have to identify who you are, but I'd love for you to be on the show, maybe by phone, and at least tell us what's going on. So definitely go to my email and tell me, and then we can go from there and put you on the show. And again, thanks for our farmers out there. We know you guys are going through a lot right now. There's a chip shortage going on right now out there, and we've all heard about it. Well, guess what? Now it's starting to affect machinery and other things. Why isn't Biden taking care of this? Why aren't they focused on things like this? They should be all over this, because this is hurting this country right now. And a lot of people, because of this, may be unemployed soon, because what can they do if there's no machinery working and all? This is a very serious thing. So, and then again, thank you for all the people who are out there working right now and not collecting any free money. I just heard some of that money is going to end. Thank God, if it does. Pelosi was speaking today. I heard her saying, well, guess what? We're going to do this. Oh, shut up, Pelosi. I'm going to tell you, I have no respect for our president. I have respect for the chair. I have zero respect for the president, zero respect for Nancy Pelosi, zero respect for Harris and all the radical left up there, what's going on in his administration. And some of the generals that spoke the other day, one of the generals anyway, I wish I knew his name. I can't remember it. But anyway, you'll see him out there. I have no respect for him, maybe his path. Maybe something's going on right now where he's too scared to open up. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to stop me from talking. Anyway, anything else on that, Jerry? What I just said, anything?
Nope. I'm going to leave it at that, because otherwise we're going to stretch this out.
Exactly.
Oh, well,
there we go. I knew it. I knew he had to get another word in. Go ahead.
No, I did. But you're going to be happy about this.
All right.
Because, you were, going through your thanks, and I just want to make sure that we didn't get in the truck drivers, police,
I thought I did.
And first responders. No, you started with the military, which is very important, and you went into that, and it's very important. But I just want to make sure that we don't forget any of those people, because I know how important that is to you.
Oh, I know. I did say our law enforcement, I thought. Sorry, guys, if I didn't. Jerry, thanks for reminding me.
I got your back, brother.
I know. I was sitting here talking about the first responders, though, and the doctors and all what's going on. They're first responders.
Hey, but you know what? If we thanked them twice, then that's not a bad thing.
I'll thank them 1,000 times. I do on every show. Oh, gosh. And again, well, actually, you know my theory on the mask and what's going on. I've spoken to doctors. I've spoken to dentists. I've spoken to so many people. And they're all telling me pretty much what I've said. And I see a lot of places. So, by the way, I'm getting off track. I know we're going to end the show, but I've seen places where, in Raleigh, for example, they have a mask mandate from the mayor of Raleigh. They have a now Wake County. Who made that decision in Wake County? Isn't the governor in charge of Wake County? I'm a little confused. Who makes that decision? Just a thought. Any idea there, Jerry?
The only thing I can think of is the county commissioners, but
Maybe.
I don't know what authority they have to enact a
I know.
mandate like that.
My question is the governor really just telling these mayors to do this, and and he's trying to take the heat off of him and put it back on the mayors right now. I don't know. A lot of things can be working. Look, I heard, I am going to say this. I'm breaking this down a little bit for a second, but I will say this, that right now I know Apex, the mayor of Apex, thank you for doing a great job. Some of the other ones like Wake Forest and stuff, but I heard, and there's a couple others out there, but they said, we're working on the mayors. What does that mean? They're going to bribe them with money? Guys, stand up, do the right thing. I don't know if that's happening. I'm just saying if they try or they do something, we're going to take certain funds and all. Stand up, do your job, do what you're hired for, because we're supporting you. You're starting to get like the governor of Florida, and we know how we feel about him. I would love to see him and Trump on a ticket together. So, but anyway, anything else, Jerry? I think that's it. All right, guys, as always, God bless you. God bless America. Have a good night, and I will talk with you in a couple days here. Thank you, and please email me and share, and I will see you soon. God bless you all. Good night.